This is the story of Baby Ben and Yoshi's Island. The year was 1995. I was 4 years old and my parents took me to a barber shop. Seriously, look at that bald head. I needed a cut. The barber's son was in the other room interacting with something on the TV. Little did I know, what I saw that day would radically change my life forever.
Hey, my name is Ben, and Yoshi's Island is indeed the very first video game I ever played. I had never seen another video game until I laid eyes on this thing. And you know what? As a kid, it really confused me. When I watched that barber's son play the game, I thought I was watching a cartoon, and then I realized he was controlling the little green dinosaur on the screen. I remember this distinct moment when my mind exploded at this new possibility of a brand new medium that combines story, art, music, and gameplay, all rolled up into one entity. I didn't realize the full impact as a kid, but as I grew up and played a lot of video games, I realized how cool and special video games were. Yoshi's Island left a really profound impact on me, and is still one of my favorite games. In many ways, I think Yoshi's Island is one of the best Mario games ever made. So I want to crack it open, break it down to the fundamentals of the game. So let's fire up my SNES and check this bad boy in.
In this game he plays Yoshi. Yoshi was originally conceived as a power-up concept for the original Super Mario Bros. But due to the NES's memory, the console had a little problem getting it up, if you know what I mean. So instead, Yoshi was held back until Mario's debut on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, Super Mario World. The game featured Mario vacationing in Dinosaur Land, whose starting area is a place called Yoshi's Island. Yoshi got super popular for his ability to eat things.
Stop that! Yoshi, do you have to eat everything?
No, I leave some for you.
So it was inevitable that he eventually got his own game. A prequel to Super Mario World about Mario's secret baby origins. Set on, lo and behold, Yoshi's Island. The game opens with a uniquely theatrical cutscene that vividly describes the exact same how babies are made sex talk my parents gave me. There's a stork clutching two twin babies when suddenly, this happens.
I'll get you, my pretty...
Kamek, a head Magic Koopa, attempts to steal the babies, who we later find out are Mario and Luigi, but he only manages to steal one. This game doesn't explain why Kamek does this, but we can assume it's because he's a wizard and can foresee all the smack these babies are going to lay down on the future king. Anyway, Yoshi's out for a stroll when a baby lands on his back. Being such a chill bro, Yoshi decides to help the vulnerable invalid baby by taking him to his Yoshi brethren, where the Council of Gungans decide to work together to save Mario's brother and get the Chidlers back to their expectant family. However, Kamek is super mad, like super angry that he only stole one baby, and dispatches his adequately named toadies to retrieve the other babe. And that's Yoshi's Island. I think it's a prime example of what Nintendo does best. Tell a simple story that gives the player nothing more than the motivation they need to complete a goal. Nintendo always designs their gameplay first and builds on the story later. Linderoth found in his research into creating stories for composite form that other game designers focused on what you do in the game, the gameplay, and then wrote stories around that. Video games differ to other mediums because story is perceived as only one part of a whole. And that's the story. There's a baby, there's Yoshi, and you gotta get back the princess. I mean baby Luigi. Yoshi's Island follows a pretty standard platforming formula. Ulsa describes the situation with games being abstracted iconic representations of reality, and the challenges in games are abstractions of real-world problems. To overcome these challenges, the player needs to analyze the patterns behind the challenge and come up with a solution. We master these patterns to beat the game. To do this, Yoshi's Island deploys a lot of the Mario franchise's game design, but I think improves on them in many ways. For instance, a lot of the challenge in the level design revolves around jumping, much like Mario's signature mechanic. However, Yoshi's Island mixes things up for the player, with the aided ability of Yoshi's flutter jump. This does two parallel things simultaneously. Firstly, it allows level design to be more complex, as platforms are designed around this new form of jump. And it also gives a welcome second chance to newcomers to the platforming game. The flutter jump makes certain jumps easier, with the skill being in the timing. This helped me a lot when I was 4 years old, and I would not have been able to progress through the game without it. The main mechanic that makes this game really different to other Mario games is Yoshi's weaponized, non-sexually reproductive cloaca. You can stick your tongue out to eat enemies like in Super Mario World, but now you can press down on the D-pad to turn them into an egg. These eggs can be aimed and thrown offensively to hit mystery clouds and activate events to progress through the game, or to damage and move past enemies. Whereas some segments in Mario games make you feel powerless and literally belittled until you get a power-up, Yoshi's always ready to hurl another egg at a perceived opponent. Whoa, I'd better be careful not to tell any more yolks. Don't want to get scrambled. However, the simplest but most important mechanic in Yoshi's Island is the timer. This guy here. The timer increases every time you collect little running stars. But if you take a hit, Mario will detach from Yoshi and the timer will start rapidly decreasing. When the time runs out, Carmex Toadies will arrive and sweep baby Mario away, causing the loss of a life. This mechanic actually solves a lot of the problems the Mario franchise has with taking damage and lives. Rather than having to restart a level because of a miscalculated jump across a ravine or one pixel of a Koopa Troopa's head brush up against your thigh, the timer mechanic gives players a chance to take consequence for their blunder of challenge, whilst also providing adequate space for the player to recover through their own actions and continue progressing through the game. This mechanic makes the Yoshi's Island stage feel challenging, but given the length of each level compared to a Mario course, feel much fairer and safer, allowing for exploration and discovery of secrets. Yoshi's Island's audio design is freaking awesome! Every sound effect sounds cartoony and whimsical, which fits the aesthetics of the game. Every noise is deliberate to provide feedback, like when jumping on an enemy or popping it with an egg. Even the most annoying sound effects, and the biggest criticized thing in the game, serves to motivate the player to do whatever it takes to make the baby shut up! Just like a real parent. The music in this game is also excellent. It makes full use of the SNES's chiptune ability, creating delightfully catchy tunes that have been stuck in my head for nearly 20 years. The game also includes my favorite synth guitar MIDI file in any video game ever. Visually, this is the best looking 2D Mario game ever. This game was made by Takashi Tezuka and not Miyamoto, which allowed for a lot of visual redesign. Yoshi's Island is lush and colourful and features non-linear and non-block level designs unlike Mario games. Also, check out Super Nintendo's Super FX chip going into overdrive for these incredible bosses. In their review of the GBA port, Electronic Gaming Monthly said the trippy, colourful graphics add a ton of atmosphere to the stages, making it much more fun to explore every last nook of the area.
In conclusion, Yoshi's Island is a really great game. There's a lot of things better than its predecessors, and even its successors. Yoshi's Island has a really unique sound, really excellent visuals, and really fun game mechanics. I highly recommend that everyone go out and play this game. Oh man. Taking a video took a lot longer than I thought. I didn't get to fit in nearly as much information as I thought I would. 10 minutes isn't a long time to talk about